Hi, this is Todd Danielson here at the Esri User Conference 2025 in San Diego. And joining me today is Raj Ubhi. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure to be here, Todd. Appreciate you putting me on. My name is Raj Ubhi. I am a geospatial analyst at Arup. Arup is a global consulting and technical advisory firm. We operate in over 100 countries and we support 150 disciplines. A little bit about myself as a geospatial analyst in the Toronto office. A lot of the times I work with spatial and non-spatial data, and really what we're trying to do is bring information together. When we are collecting data, when we are provided with information, or we receive content, the whole purpose really of our, I think, team is to support our disciplines in collecting information and bringing it all together so it's easier to access and it's more transparent, really, for the wider group and for the wider team. So that's kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Happy to get into my education or anything if you want to talk about that as well.
We can work that in, but we're here at the user conference, so you presented yesterday. Why don't you start by telling us what your presentation was on, why you were featured, and what the main project was?
Yeah, for sure. So the presentation was on the Eglinton Crosstown West Extension. It's abbreviated as the ECLR. It's abbreviated as ECWE. This is a 9.2 kilometer extension of the existing ECLRT. It extends from Mount Dennis Station out in the east to Pearson International Airport over in the west. So Arup is the technical advisor on this project, and so we lead procurement and construction, specifically the management of construction. What's interesting about ECWE is that it's divided into 4 contracts, and each contract has its own contractor and timeline. So there's a lot of data. And what we want to do is make sure that this project is delivered on time and we don't run into any cost overruns, which is the case on a lot of large-scale infrastructure projects across the globe. And so really the purpose of my presentation yesterday was showing the audience at Esri, at the UC, how we've utilized geospatial technology to mitigate cost overrun and delays in schedule.
I want you to talk a little bit about which technologies you used and why and how they were effective.
Yeah, for sure. So what we used is not only the I think entire ecosystem of Esri, but we also used other software, Power BI, Microsoft SQL Server, and an internal application, an internal platform called Arup Fuse. I'll talk a bit more about that later, but really we relied on ArcGIS Enterprise, specifically enterprise geodatabases, to store all of our data. So a lot of the information that we are collecting out on site is collected using Survey 123. We have records dating back to 2021 where surveyors are going out on site and they are collecting data using this platform. And we've built surveys for worksite daily oversight. We've built surveys for traffic lane closures, for deficiency tracking, and we've really put all of that information inside of a single geodatabase. And I think I remember reading something like we've got 34,000 site photos now over the 4-year term. We then take that information and we feed it into dashboards. So we don't just let it sit. We put it into dashboards, we put it into maps. An example that I had up on the screen yesterday was our site photos dashboard. So the site photos dashboard allows the end user to see the photos that are taken out on site, see all of the data that we collect inside of the survey, and then we also link it to a PDF export. And so this export is tailored to how the client would like to receive their information. And so it's very easy for an end user to click on this URL and you can export this report, which can then be shared widely. Not only does that site photos dashboard help us keep track of the progress of construction, But it's also a really good visual tool if we ever find ourselves in a situation where we need to go back and see what was going on in a particular day or on a particular month. It's also a neat way to increase safety, in my opinion, just because we're not going out on site as much anymore. So the Site Photos Dashboard was one example where we are bringing data out in the field and putting it into an application that you can view on your computer. We also put together an Experience Builder application using Experience Builder. And with that, we could include a temporal aspect into the spatial data that we were collecting, specifically property plates. And now we can see the handover of land just because you have multiple contractors working on this project. A contractor might come onto a piece of land and then be asked to leave given their schedule before the next one goes on. So that temporal aspect of land and spatial data really, I think, sets the stuff that we are doing apart.
We're doing an audio interview, but what does this dashboards and interfaces look like? Are they on mobile devices? And then what are they seeing and interacting with?
Yeah, so actually that's a good question, and that leads to what I wanted to talk about regarding Arup Fuse. So ArcGIS Enterprise, that's our backend. All of our data is in there. We then build dashboards using ArcGIS dashboards or Power BI to put together that information, highlight high-level KPIs, show the progress of construction. We're also using ArcGIS Enterprise to then build out our experience builders, any other web maps. Then all of those modules that we have, we put them inside of a platform called Fuse. So Fuse is a container. It's an Arup-built and internal platform that allows us to access all of these modules that we have on a project in one location. So you have a single URL. We share that URL with the client. We can share that internally amongst our teams. And then the end user is able to see all of the modules, all of these dashboards, all of these maps that we've put together in one location. So instead of sharing 3 URLs for a dashboard, 2 URLs for a map, or like another URL for a searchable register, you just share that one URL and then you have access to everything.
Why was that a benefit? How long did it take Arup to make their own little thing? And what would people do if they didn't have your particular tool?
I think I personally don't know how long it took to develop Fuse. I believe it was under development before I joined the firm in 2021. So timeline-wise, I'm sure I can get you in touch with the right people. However, I think the real benefit here is that in the past, we were sharing, like I said, multiple URLs with our clients. And because of that, you also had to manage access for each one of these URLs, for each one of these applications. And it takes a long time to manage access, to give somebody access to something. So now what we've done is we've just incorporated Fuse into our onboarding. So when somebody is onboarded onto ECWE, they need access to Fuse, great. We give them access, and now they have access to everything inside of that application, inside of that container. So it's a really great way to streamline, I think, the access of information. And that's really what we're trying to do here. And what I was saying at the beginning is the whole purpose, really, I think, in my opinion, for what we're doing here in the geospatial community, in digital widely, is trying to bring information together, trying to increase collaboration, and make it a lot easier to access data so that we can make faster decisions, we can collaborate at a faster pace, and at the end of the day, we can ensure a successful delivery.
Okay, so I understand that the Fuse, it's not its own separate application, it's just a simpler way to disseminate and bring the information in and bring it back out to the people who are using the systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're here presenting, so that means you're wanting to share what you've learned and the great things that you've done. What have you learned, and why do you think that other people can learn from what you guys did?
I think so far, I mean, the sessions have been great. I've really enjoyed my time here. technically, I think there's so many things that are going on. It's hard to wrap my head around everything. There's just so much stuff happening. I think what's really interesting is to see how there's so many different ways to solve a problem. I've been in sessions where some users are showing how we can best capture data using Survey 123, but other users of Esri are showing us how you can best capture data using field maps. I think because of the vast degree and because of the vast degree of Esri technology out there, I think just understanding and seeing so many different ways that we can use our data is quite interesting, and I've learned a lot. I'm also trying to speak to more people and have more conversations on how we can best integrate our data. So I had the opportunity to speak to some people at Autodesk. I had the opportunity to speak to some people at AWS, and it's all been really great to hear about what the community has been up to.
So if say a designer or developer, people working on a large infrastructure project like yourselves, if they were hesitant or haven't really started using the geospatial data aspects, what might you tell them to try and convince them to do it, that they need this? Are they aware that they need this and they just don't know what to do from there, or what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think what I've seen with designers and just the engineering community is they are really good at what they do. But the real value of geospatial is just bringing it all together. The one, I think, element that ties a station design to an alignment design to concrete or something else that an engineering firm would do is location. And geospatially, location is everything to us. So the real value that I find in GIS and digital solutions is that we can bring information together. You can, on a map, overlap an alignment with a station, with a TPSS, for example. You can't really do that on separate softwares because designers and engineers are using Revit, they're using Autodesk, they're using ACC, and so forth. So really trying to tie that all together is what geospatial, I think, brings to all of these large-scale infrastructure projects.
Okay, you said it adds value to the projects. A bit more specific, is that money saving, time saving? Does it create like more accurate models and more detail? What are the ways that these do add value?
I think it improves the collaboration that these disciplines have with one another. Something that we like to do is use our maps, use our dashboards to facilitate meetings with our client. Now, instead of having multiple PDFs or multiple drawings up during a client meeting, bringing it all together in one spot is the real value add, in my opinion. So it makes it a lot faster to facilitate these conversations and come up with a decision. That really, I think, is the value add here.
What does that look like? Does that mean rather than preparing a presentation, they're looking at the live dashboards that the same, your own, Arup workers are looking at?
Yeah. So, for example, on ECWE, we have weekly summary meetings, essentially. Mm-hmm. So every week, we will sit down, all the SMEs, with the client and report on progress every week. In the past, we used spreadsheets to report progress, and so SMEs were putting screenshots of drawings on a spreadsheet, or they were making tables and charts and tabular information inside of that spreadsheet. And literally the facilitator of the meeting would zoom into a section of the spreadsheet and then move around and highlight what was going on with every discipline. Digital was involved in one of those calls, and we were brought in to say, hey, is there any way that we can improve this? And yeah, definitely there is an opportunity here. So we took that spreadsheet and all that data, and we put it inside of a dashboard. So what we have on each contract is a coordinator, and the coordinator is responsible for communicating with our SMEs to basically capture all of the data that we want to add into the dashboards. And then the coordinator works with the digital team to update these dashboards. And so we prep them the Friday at the end of the week, and then on the Monday and the Tuesday is when we have our meetings, and then they're ready to go. So we're not actually the SMEs are not spending as much time putting together these spreadsheets. Instead, we're communicating and collaborating with them to update these dashboards, and then at the end of the day, they're ready to go and visible for the client.
And also the clients can actually access these dashboards before meetings at any time they want to?
Yeah. So what we do is we update them every Monday morning. So clients will have an updated dashboard on the Monday. So one of the contracts has a meeting on the Tuesday and the other one has one on the Wednesday. So Monday morning, they can have access to what we've been doing the week prior before the meeting even starts. And so that just speeds up the conversation. The client already knows what is going on, and so those weekly meetings is more of a, hey, we know this is happening, what are we going to do next? So overall, by putting everything inside of this dashboard and making it accessible, it definitely is fruitful, and it's helped grow the confidence that the client has in the digital team to build things that provide a lot of value for the project.
Okay, secondly, you mentioned that bringing in the digital team. What exactly is the digital team, and what's the role? Why are they called the digital team?
Yeah, for sure. So at Arup, the digital team comprises of more than just geospatial. So we've got geospatial analysts like myself, but there's also software engineers, UX, UI analysts. I'm sure I'm missing a few as well. But really, the digital team are digital practitioners that work together to help our SMEs, to help our discipline teams, to help more of those technical teams and the project management teams on their day-to-day activities. And so the dashboards is a really good example. What we do with our maps and Esri technology is also another great example. Some of the more engineering and software development focused teams, they work together to use out-of-the-box applications like React, like JavaScript, to build niche applications. So at Arup, digital is more than just geospatial. It's a vast array of different disciplines, and we all come together to support our technical teams.
Okay, now I'd like to get into probably the most important part, and that'd be like the advice to your fellow peers. Things that you learned along the way that maybe you expected or didn't expect, that you could pass on to them so that maybe they can take a shortcut or two or avoid a pitfall that you may have come across.
Yeah. I think as like for the peers and for anybody who is a geospatial professional in their organization, I think collaboration and communication is the biggest benefit that I have come across. A lot of the work that we do in the engineering discipline can be siloed, and it could be because we are using different software. It could be because we are working on different timelines or in different time zones all over the place. But really sitting down with your team, communicating what needs to be done, gathering requirements, making sure that everybody has the one goal in mind, and working together to solve a problem is what I would say is the best way forward. That's what we did on ECWE. We sat down with our PM team, we sat down with our technical teams, we tried to understand what issues they ran into and they could run into the future. And we tried to mitigate those best we can using digital technology like Esri technology. So that's one piece of advice I would give everybody, to communicate and collaborate as much as possible. I think just the summary would be that we can use geospatial technologies to improve the delivery of large-scale infrastructure projects. At the end of my presentation yesterday, I had mentioned that we need to continue utilizing spatial and non-spatial data to improve communication, to improve collaboration, and at the end of the day for a successful delivery.